Sports.
Okay, we are back. The Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network. Checking out one thing. We got Corey coming up in the last segment with all-in bets. I do want to check out the Baylor number. And, I mean, guys, seriously, we had it here yesterday. If you were watching the Pete Sousa Show yesterday, we legit broke news. We told you that Garrett Green was going to play, right? When we told you he was going to play, the line was at 2.5. Now, the line, you can't see this, but I can. It is 1. So Garrett Green and the availability of Garrett Green, as Neil Brown put it yesterday, that and I'm sure America, I mean, that's what it is, people getting word and then wagering on that and moving the line now down to 1. So it goes from 2.5 points to 1 point. And, we had a little inkling, a little source around Morgantown that gave us the wink wink that he was going to play, and it was pretty much certain. And I think that, like, this is smoke and mirrors now by Neil Brown. Like, he's available, he's going to play, and he's probably going to play the whole game. And and Dave Aranda's not going to be fooled, although you do have to be ready for Marchioli, Nico, which is a great name. And remember, this is a good West Virginia team. Like, riddle me this, right? West Virginia is on the year, they are 5-4. Yeah. But they're 4-2 in the Big 12. And they could still, we mentioned it yesterday, make the Big 12 title game. That's a scary proposition for the rest of the conference. Like, if that were to happen, Brett Yormark would not be pumped. I can promise you that. I don't think anybody would be. The Big 12 championship, of course, on December 7th. So that Baylor game, as we come down the stretch, remember, you still watch our interview. It's up there with Blake Blackmar yesterday. I had no idea about the meat mafia, but boy, I was not disappointed when I heard that story. That was absolutely amazing. I love college football stuff like that, like conspiracy theories and crazy blogs. And that's kind of all in the stew, right? That makes it what it is, as long as we kind of keep it healthy like that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about college football and the reporting of it. And So today, like, I'm traveling, I'm not at home, and I'm usually over at Rogue, like actually in the studio at this point in time, like prepping for my show, and in doing all that, like, I don't really take in much other like sports media, which is fine, I guess, but there's some really good stuff out there. And the Pat McAfee show is like, I had it on today, and first of all, you should watch the Pete Sousa show, right? But the Pat McAfee show is and it's really after my own heart. Like, we can all sit here and come up with wild theories and hunches and hot takes based on nothing. And sometimes that's what you do. I mean, we're fans. You got to have an opinion. Sometimes the gray area is way bigger than people care to acknowledge. But truly, I can say, like, if I'm given an opinion, which is the way it should be across all mediums, but if I'm giving you an opinion, it's genuine. It's what I believe in. I try to keep most of the stuff I'm telling you here and almost anywhere in life based on my experience, because or what I've heard from someone who knows better than me and is close to that situation, because all the other stuff is just noise, really. Like when I said the thing about Garrett Green the other day, I said it because I heard something from somebody I trust. I will not make like a wild commitment like that that's based on nothing. And that's not to say that everybody else does, but a lot of times there's a lot of smoke out there that a lot of opinions and takes and stuff are maybe drummed up a little bit. And I don't even know what it's like to be in that pressure cooker where, you're on First Take every morning. You kind of you got to have something. That's part of the deal. And that is, again, like, barbershop, you're at the bar, like that's what makes sports fun. We can argue and have opinions, but I think, like, I always get frustrated when somebody gives you an overwhelming guarantee that's based on absolutely nothing. Like, if you are going to tell me that this team is going to 1,000% they're going to lose tomorrow, I know they're going to lose. Like, you better know that the quarterback was out till 5 a.m. into the morning, because if that's just based on what you think is going to happen, it's not real. It's not. And that's why even the best handicappers like Corey Dickman, they struggle once in a while. Talking to Corey in a little bit. Anyways, back to Pat McAfee. There is pomp and circumstance that come with that show, but at the end of the day, like, you're not going to go anywhere else. And honestly, I think this could be what this show becomes someday. The more games I do with ESPN, I just got my first hoops game. It's going to be December, Xavier at TCU. Big 12, Big East battle, which, by the way, this is not intentional. But what is there any more perfect of an opportunity for a kid that grew up watching the Big East than to do a Xavier and now has his bread buttered by the Big 12 to do Xavier TCU? I don't think so. So I'm pumped about that. But the more and more I do basketball games, like on site at arenas, I would love to do something, like the Pat McAfee show. Like, he's got game day on Friday. So him and Nick Saban are sitting there. And this goes back to the gold mine that is that show. It's Pat McAfee and it's Nick Saban, and they're talking ball on the field at Sanford Stadium in Georgia for like 60 minutes, it felt like. You won't get there. You won't get that anywhere else. And, like, it's Pat McAfee too. Like, you have to understand, like, there's a lot of, like I said, pomp, circumstance, excitement, whatever. The guy's genuine. The guy's positive. And he played in the NFL. He was one of the best kickers in the NFL. And he was amazing at college in West Virginia. And he's obviously got a lot of really good relationships in football. Look, if you're me and you were like, I wasn't football adjacent. I was considered on the team, but I couldn't play because of my heart. They kept me on scholarship. But I have the most amazing relationships with people from so many different walks of life, some in pro football, some in pro football scouting, some in real estate, some, doing whatever. And like, those are such incredible bonds because they're through the game of football, right? They're teammates of mine. Could you imagine somebody like Pat McAfee, the wealth of relationships he has? Now, of course, like, there are a lot of football players who have a lot of amazing relationships, but the ability to articulate and have the talent that McAfee has and to convey it in such a manner that is interesting and compelling is something that is extremely unique. But when you put all that together and the understanding that, hey, at the end of the day, football is football. And if I'm going to be with a guy like Nick Saban for 60 minutes, like, I'm just going to listen to Nick Saban and talk to him about it. I'm not going to be, Pat McAfee is not the expert. Certainly when he's around Nick Saban, he understands that completely. And some of the things that Nick Saban was saying, we talked about, I'm in Colorado State. I'm in Colorado State. I'm in Fort Collins for a Colorado State football game tonight, Colorado and Wyoming, 125th anniversary of the border war. I'm here working for CBS. And there was, the Colorado State football team is staying at this hotel because obviously you want to eliminate distractions before the game, staying at a Hilton close to campus. And are close to the stadium. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't think there's a lot of Wyoming fans that are on their way to the Hilton right now because I said that, or arranging prank phone calls. But it's clear that they're staying at the hotel to eliminate distractions. Like, Nick Saban told a quick story this morning, which they were talking about bigger games as you get down the season, home and away, LSU, Alabama, that rivalry, like the visiting team, like when Alabama went into Baton Rouge and Tiger Stadium and absolutely blew the doors off of LSU, that's sort of a surprise because the game's in Baton Rouge. And Nick Saban countered a little bit. He said, look, when you're a coach at a big-time program, sometimes from a logistical standpoint, you want to be on the road, right? And this goes back to Baylor. It's terrifying that they're playing at West Virginia. It is. I mean, Blake Blackmar told us that yesterday. He did a great job of describing it. Again, you can watch the whole interview. It's up now on the Pete Sousa channel. And but Nick Saban talked about the fact that, like, look, I had to meet with recruits all day on a Friday before a game because they're all in town, right? He had a Nick at noon thing, but I'd heard that he did, which is always amazing. He at 12:30, like, if he's meeting with when he was meeting, let's say, with Gary Danielson and Vern Lundquist before a huge game in the SEC, that was going to be on CBS. That interview time on Friday from 12 to 12:30 always ended promptly at 12:30 because Saban would go over to this thing at noon. Remember, this is a Friday before a game called Nick at Noon, where he would speak about football to supporters of the Alabama Crimson Tide, mostly female. And it was called Nick at Noon, and he would talk for a little while and they would answer questions. And he said he loved doing it, but like his mind was all over the place because he had a game on Friday. And then after that Nick at Noon, you go and you talk to all these recruits, all the recruits that are in town. And he said that, and this is like, just so you know, like when you look at your life, right, and you feel like, and this is me talking to myself, like, oh my God, I just got dressed and now I got to rush over here and I just got here on time. Like, oh my gosh, like, will I ever be able to not have so much going on and be there on time? It's like, dude, this is Nick Saban. He talked about it. He said, I would be so tied up in so many different things that I would barely get dressed in time for walkthrough on the Friday before a game because all of the commitments I had at home on a Friday. You know, you're on the road. It's not even close to that. I mean, you are with your team in your bubble. Sure, there's some media commitments and there's some talks you got to, give to your team and stuff. But like, you really are like tunnel vision on your opponent. And as we get into the the latter stages of the season, nothing is going to compare to going in there for Baylor and playing a 3 o'clock game or a 4 o'clock game at West Virginia. The sun will probably go down. I don't know why, but I'm hung up on this. Just bear with me, and I apologize if I'm driving you crazy. The sun will go down probably around, I don't know. Let's look it up, actually, just for S's and giggles, okay? Just hang in there with me. So the game is in Morgantown. You're starting to learn that I'm like the slowest. Like, okay, what do you got? You got it? I can't hear you, Scotty. You're off. I can't hear you. Let me look it up. I mean, God.
Now you can. Now you can.
By the way, Scotty just made a new song. You're going to hear that soon.
Don't share that. Did you just steal my
people love to hear you, Scotty. That's all I'm saying, bro.
Did I hear you say please bear with me? I just wanted to.
Well, that's why. Please bear with me, podcast.
I just wanted to bring that in. In. We're bearing with you while you look up the.
Don't be humble about your
sunset time.
Don't be humble. All right, so, oh boy, this isn't good news for people there. All right, so conditions tomorrow: cloudy, high of 53. Good news is low of 41. So, but at kickoff, it should be relatively sunny in Morgantown. I'm looking at it right now, the hour by hour. It'll be in the low 50s and around 5:03, and that is 5:03 local time. So you're talking, okay, so you'll probably get 2 hours of sunlight. So you'll only be playing like an hour in the pitch black. So that's good. All right. I know I'm driving you crazy with that, but that's how I feel about that. So hopefully that gives Baylor a little bit of a better chance. But, hey, they're going to be ready. The thing about Morgantown, and again, I keep saying Blake talked about it a little bit, they're the Dallas Cowboys of that state. Like West Virginia, like there's no other ticket in town. Everyone. I've done several basketball games in Morgantown, and that arena seats 14,000, and you're hard-pressed to find it not filled up on every night. The only time that I've ever had a situation where I did a game last year, it was actually Baylor, West Virginia, and it was snowing during the day. So the crowd was kind of light. It was late in the year. But, man, it's always packed there. People always come to see them play. So it's going to be a hostile environment. All right, speaking of hostility, Corey Dickman. Don't have any for him because all he's got for you is winners. Corey Dickman's coming up next. All in bets. It is for Football Friday, baby. You are watching the Pete Sousa Show on the Rogue Media Network, presented by Slovaceks. Corey Dickman coming up with his picks.